Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ozarks Tonight. I'm Brian Calfano, joined again by our Ozarks first contributors, Nick Reed and Amy Blancett. And folks, Blackface back in the news. We thought Megyn Kelly put this to bed once and for all, but apparently there are a lot of folks out there who are in public positions who have pasts that have included these unfortunate episodes. And the latest, of course, is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who admitted recently that in 2001, I believe, he was at some kind of party and he was photographed wearing blackface. There may have been other instances where this happened as well. And he says, this is because I was in a position of privilege, which I don't understand that connection at all. Because now you're in a position of privilege, you do what? Racist things? Whatever. The point is that he says he's sorry and it's regrettable, but he's not stepping down, and thus far his party up there is not pressuring him to leave because it would be political suicide. The election is set for late October up there, and so your reaction, who knows, there may be others out there that we're going to find out down the road. People unearth pictures of their past, and we're talking about this for a long time. Anyway, go ahead. Trudeau.
Sure, I'll begin.
Okay, sure.
All right. So, you know, there's kind of two parts to this. One is, if we look at the entire picture of the individual and we see repeatedly that there have been offenses, then we do need to look at that collectively. I think one thing that we have to be careful of is the other side. When we're having difficulty digging up dirt on a politician, we tend to find any little, aha, see, we told you, confirmation bias, they are who we said they are, when we can't find anything else. We go digging further and further back.
But is blackface a little deal?
I don't think it's a little deal, and I don't mean to discredit that at all.
I know you weren't saying that, but
no,
I'm just...
But we're seeing this repeatedly in politics, to where when someone has a pretty okay past, can we find anything to dig up? But because there's been repeat offenses, so recently they also found that there was a time where he had dressed up, I believe as a Middle Eastern, and had brown on his face. And so to say that you never knew that that was an offense, and even from a point of privilege, to say that I'm so disconnected from, you know, ethnicity and what that means that I didn't realize 10 years ago or 20 years ago that that might be offensive to someone,
for the benefit
that's concerning.
of those who don't know, Trudeau's father, of course, was Pierre Trudeau, longtime Canadian Prime Minister. So to suggest that he had no idea about political sensitivities and everything else, I mean, it's just insane.
Correct. He
right?
grew up with this being all around him.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. I don't want to beat up on him too much, Nick, but I don't have a lot of sympathy.
Well, I mean, I find a little humor. As an observer in this, this whole thing, we have created this sort of monster reaction. And listen, there is a reality here. Once upon a time, while it may never have been the nicest thing to do, the visceral reaction that we have today is different than it was. We just are so much more sensitive to it. And so when somebody did this, particularly in the 50s or 60s, it may not have been right and it may have been racist, but people didn't see it as big of a deal then. And so oftentimes...
Right, Bob Hope, other entertainers.
Right,
and
yes.
It doesn't make it right,
exactly.
But it was something that was much more prevalent.
And so what we do is we have decided that it is okay to judge people on what they did in the past with our standards today. Mm-hmm. That's what we've decided to do. And you get caught up in situations like this. Now, Trudeau, I will say, I don't know that I've really seen anyone with his position so recently do it. 2001, you know, I mean...
That's not that long ago.
That's not that long ago. Yeah, it's just such a mess. Now, I do think that I think it's okay to recognize somebody has done something wrong, they did something inappropriate, and maybe even something that falls into the category of racism, however far back it was, without deciding, well, there's no point in redemption, there's no point in apologizing, you can never ever make up for it, your life is over. Because that seems to be the position that we've taken.
And it creates then this idea of, I have to be so careful in what I say, because if I offend someone, the idea of the intent of my words is now kind of put aside, and it's instead the response that happens. So if someone was offended and they have a great social media following and they make a huge stink of it, and they didn't realize that I acknowledged that what I said offended you, and I'm apologizing to you, it was never my intent to harm you or anyone else, the apology no longer matters. And it is, to the nth degree, we must like ruin your career because you said something. And I'm talking more than just the Trudeau issue, that we're getting to this in politics of, well, you must then leave the scene. And we're discrediting the value of saying, I made a mistake. I'm curious how many people watched him make his public apology and went, whatever, he didn't even mean it.
But I saw, because there have been a couple of pictures and then this video, and I saw most recently that he said, well, I don't know how many more there are out there. And I'm thinking, what do you do? What was your entertainment, you know? I mean...
I'm a little concerned about every Halloween outfit I ever wore.
Well, and that's the thing. Who knows what we're saying today that 30 years from now would be considered so offensive, and are we going to be our lives destroyed because, well, you should have known 30 years ago that it was so offensive that, you know, it should be unacceptable. But I want to address one thing.
Well, let's do this after we come back.
All right.
2 minutes from now, let's hear how offensive something Nick says might be. We'll be right back.